On there it said, "Follow me, I will lead you the way you should go," from the book of Psalm. And when I saw that picture and read that verse, it was like the entire shop just disappeared. And it was me and this print, and we were just kind of suspended in space. Everything else disappeared. And it was like a gut punch. It was like, whoa.
Welcome to the True Wealth Podcast, where happiness is more often found in the soul of someone's wealth rather than the size of it. Money, after all, is a tool. It's not the destination. Money is the fuel to advance your core values and purpose. Join us as we share some inspiring stories, true wealth life lessons, and practical strategies to help you design a life of intention, generosity, and fulfillment. Guests on the True Wealth Podcast are not affiliated with CWM LLC. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor. So, hey, True Wealth listeners, today I have two exceptional people joining me, Dan and Marie LaRock. We're really incredibly honored and thrilled to have both of you in the studio. Now, for listeners who know Dan and Marie, getting Dan in the studio with a microphone is not the stretch of anyone's imagination. Marie, for you to be here, I think I alluded to this earlier, this can't be top 5 in your bucket list, maybe not even top 100. So I know the topic is something that you're very passionate about. So thank you for coming.
Kevin, we're honored to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's really so many things that we could talk about. I mean, you fit into so many different categories. For example, any of the life stages. Now, I won't say your ages, but I know you're in the builder stage. So we'll let listeners figure out where that is.
There you go.
And then when we talk about the different levels of true wealth, so many of the things, I know you could fill episodes in any one of the conversations. So what my plan is, we'll just talk about one of your passions, and I know it's going to cover 3 of what would be one of our 9 principles. So Riding Rock Ranch. You're co-founders of Rock Ranch, and it's just really great to have you here, and we're going to talk about it. So what we're going to do then, by talking about it, we're going to cover number 3, which is your core values. 2, stick to your core values. 3, be driven by your purpose. And 8, find ways to be compassionate with the world. So Rock Ranch was started in 2016, right? And as I understand it, your mission is to provide opportunities for persons to improve themselves physically, cognitively, socially, and emotionally while learning the art and skills of horsemanship in Christ-centered filled sessions.
Beautiful.
Is that
Yes.
correct? Now that's perfect, because the 4 pillars of true wealth is being financially fit, financially confident, physically fit, spiritually nourished, and emotionally engaged. So you guys cover everything. So I just figured we'll just do every episode from here on, and we'll cover them. And I know you're there. But now that I got the introductions out of the way, we're out of time. Sorry about that. So I can let you go. But tell me about Rock Ranch.
You bet.
Marie, you start. Tell me about Rock Ranch.
Okay. I started in 2016. And the initial thought was exactly to follow that of our mission statement. So I had been working in the schools as a speech language pathologist, part-time in the school district. I had been also volunteering at Horsepower.
Okay.
And they serve people with disabilities, and they use horses to do that. So they do equine-assisted learning with people with disabilities on horses. So I'd been volunteering there for several years, and I really liked what they did. Prior to that, I had also done a practicum in hippotherapy, so it's providing speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy with people on horses and using horses to enhance those skills. So I have some interest. I had some interest in that area. Had been volunteering at Horsepower during that time. I just kept getting these little whispers, maybe we could do something like that way on the east side, and something with horses and nature and people, and what could that look like? So these whispers kept coming through, and I was pretty good at pushing them away. And just not listening to them and being, that's too much. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And
but it doesn't let it go away either. That's always
it didn't go away. It just kept running through my brain. And but the final straw was Dan and I were in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Okay. And we were at a little shop boutique there. And so they had lots of different things to look at. Dan was actually at the little bar where he was testing out crackers and pretzels
They had
with all the
great
dressings
samples. I
and
mean, it was
sauces.
it was something.
And
Right.
he was knee deep into those samples while I was shopping around.
Sure.
So they had a bin. They had some bins there with different prints that you could look through. And I was just casually going through these prints, and all of a sudden I saw one, and it was a scene of horses running. The horses looked like the herd of horses that we already had
Oh,
at
cool.
the farm. And on there it said, "Follow me, I will lead you the way you should go," from
Wow.
the book of Psalm. And when I saw that picture and read that verse, it was like the entire shop just disappeared. And
Yep.
it was me and this print, and we were just kind of suspended in space. Everything else disappeared. And it was like a gut punch. It
Yeah.
was like, whoa, something is happening here. And I was pretty taken aback, and I did end up buying that print, but I didn't tell Dan about it yet because it was kind of this experience that I just even
Yep.
didn't know
Yep.
what had just happened. So I bought that print. We brought it home, put it up in our bedroom. I would pray over it every day and just asking God, what is this? What do you want me to do? What is this? And it just kept coming back. We needed to do
cool.
something. We needed to do something. So at the end of the summer, I finally got up enough courage to talk to Dan, and we were walking across our property at the farm. And I just said, Dan, I think we're being called to do something here. I really think we're being called to do something. And I was sharing my experience with him, and he said, well, Marie, if you're feeling this strongly that we're being called, we need to answer that call.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Hearing it and answering it, but then carrying it out. I mean,
and
that's
then carrying it out and wondering if, in all the while being nervous of not doing it well.
right.
You know, like you're being called to do something, you want to do it well.
Yeah.
And I look back at that and I think of, gosh, you know, God could have brought that message to me, but he has Dan with me.
Yeah.
And Dan can fill in all those spots that I
Sure.
can't do.
Sure.
So it's this partnership, and how God put us together to
Yeah.
follow through with those things is just amazing. And it's so apparent. It's so vivid to me now when I look back, but hindsight sometimes is 2022,
Yeah.
you know, but in that moment I said, Dan, I think I could do the programming. Like I have ideas for programming and what we want done, but I can't do the business side of it.
Right.
Like that's the last thing I want
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And he's like, that's what I can do.
Yeah.
That's what I can do. So then
Has that been hard? I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
because you affectionately have a personality that is big. I mean, right? That's a compliment. So it's hard to, but you know, her passion is so strong.
Right.
But it's perfect because you can kind of be out front, being an additional face and voice, but you can focus on what your heart says. That's awesome.
What Marie's really good at is building the kind of program and the kind of connectivity with the team who works with us, building something that people want.
Sure.
She's really good at building something that is attractive to people as they experience it across many different service areas of Rock Ranch. What I can do is get the people to listen to it.
Sure.
I can figure out how to share enough so that I know how to I think effectively tell a story that creates others interest in what's going on. And so yeah, we've been able to
Compliment.
yeah, and Marie knows I know how to do some of these things, and she's been really good about saying, you take care of that. And then I have learned, I shouldn't say no, I have learned enough to know that Marie knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And
Leave these things alone. I get it. That's good. That's good.
And as a result, you know, we've built a flourishing organization that we're so thankful is attractive to so many different kinds of people, and we continue to see it grow, you know, year over year, and that horse integration with human, you know, interaction is just gold for people.
Certainly.
And
But you did a good thing because so many times businesses say, okay, here's who we are, and you try to force that out. But if you can lay out something that people want, that's not every business can do that. But again, when it's God's calling and you're answering it, that makes it a little bit easier. And clearly sometimes a whisper isn't good enough. He needs a sledgehammer. And
It was a sledgehammer.
Lord, please hit me over the head, right?
well, that photo, I mean, those are, you just can't argue those kind of things. But then so I've been out to the ranch, and it's a beautiful facility, and even better mission statement. But did it always start that way? I mean, your first lessons, did you have all the facilities you have now, or?
No, we first started, we thought 2016, we established the business in December of that year, right after Christmas. And so 2017 was our first summer. And we thought, well, let's just throw this out there and let's see what we get. So I had ideas on programming of being a speech therapist in the schools. I wanted kids to be able, while they're riding, I wanted them to learn other things, you know, following directions, different cognitive skills, social emotional skills. You can tie so much into just horsemanship. And so I started developing a curriculum for that summer. We invited some kids just locally out to see if they'd be interested. They were, got some volunteers. So that summer we were just doing lessons in our pasture across on our yard. And it went really well. I think we had about 50 people come through that summer. And then things just began to grow. Just to give you some perspective, 50 people came through that first summer. Last year we had nearly 3,500 people come through.
Yeah.
And did I see that the 2026 summer calendar is already full for horse riding? Now that doesn't include we'll talk about the different groups there, but that's for the.
Yeah,
that's
so
exciting.
We started with that horseback riding program with the kids.
3,500.
And that was a hit. That was a hit. People don't really get the opportunity to have horsemanship lessons.
Yep.
And then having the extra component that I was passionate about, teaching kids so many other things along the way, it went hand in hand. So that program took off quickly and very well. And then just continuing to pay attention to those little signs that God is giving us, right? So like the next year we had a friend of ours worked at the local nursing home, and she said, would you guys bring in your little pony? We're having agricultural day at the nursing home. We thought that would be fun. So we brought in our little pony and saw what a hit that could be with some of the residents there. And then we thought, gosh, maybe we should invite them out and see what happens. And so they brought a group out that summer, and we got several people on horses that used to ride horses all the time.
Oh, that's cool.
We had all the volunteers there to help out, and it was a hit. It was out.
Well, logistically, that had to be challenging too, because some of them are in chairs, some of them are walkers, and walking across pasture land isn't conducive to that. So did you have the arena at that time or no?
No, we
still
started.
didn't.
Yeah, we had everybody in their wheelchairs, and we had chairs set up and a little snack station of cookies and coffees out in the grass.
Awesome.
And on the other side of the fence line, and when somebody wanted to ride, we could bring them in. We have designed mounting blocks that's is very helpful in getting people on horses and very safely and effectively. So we tried that, and we thought, this was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, and to hear the stories that they can share.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, so many people were local to that area.
Sure.
So just being out in that countryside again, they knew who all of our neighbors were. And we just saw the beauty in that and what that could provide to residents in nursing homes and assisted living centers. So that's really what sparked our Senior Saddles program.
When you think about,
I was only taken back that Senior Saddles is 55 and older, so I'm in that age.
Me too.
Come
I
on
wasn't
out.
sure I felt about that, but you did have some disclaimers on that as well, so I was glad to see that. But
the acres that for that program that Rock Ranch sits on, you were for many, many years have harvested corn and beans.
Sure.
And when you put these two programs in and you watch the smiles that come out of both of those programs, you realize on the faces of people in very real interaction with people,
Certainly.
You're harvesting joy, you're harvesting hope, you're harvesting, the kind of fellowship that I think is part of that invitation Marie received so many years ago. And we are overjoyed to be able to offer that to the community.
Well, what's the saying? Once a man, twice a child. And you see that with seniors. They're like kids again, getting on horses. I've been in a facility where they brought dogs in, and instantaneous smiles, lights up. Just all of a sudden, it's. So I can't imagine what a horse would do. Now, you weren't in existence when, at least Rock Ranch wasn't, when my kids were younger. My third wanted to ride a horse in the worst way. And I did share with you, I fell off early and didn't get back on. So that was important to me. So we were up in the Moondance Ranch by Walker, Minnesota.
Walker,
and he said, hey, I want to go horseback. And he was at that age. I thought, I got to get him on there. Well, that was the kind of horse riding where it's butt to nose. You put him on the back and he kept looking over his shoulder like, Dad, this is not horse riding. This is stupid. And he was really turned off by it. But I watched the video. They're kind of more free when they're riding with you. You just have a volunteer kind of alongside, right? Yeah. I know that's what he had in mind. What I took him on was not a successful thing. So how many volunteers does it take?
Oh, gosh. We have probably 35, 40 active volunteers right now. And they come from everywhere. But our volunteer base, they're wonderful. Yeah. They're so great.
Are they also trained, or they're just volunteering? How many of them are like licensed and
Sure.
What's the breakout of that?
Not very many. Some of them have horses themselves. Some of them have a history of having horses in their lives. Some just always wanted to be around horses and want to help out in some capacity. So we do offer volunteer trainings. We usually have new volunteers come in and shadow another volunteer during those lessons until they get to the point where they feel comfortable. Okay. Our horses are, they're older, they're calm, they're gentle, they're safe. Our horses are safe, and that's something that's...
Staff-wise, how many are licensed? Or do you bring in other outside professionals as well for...
Well, we have, So I've gone through different trainings for our equine-assisted counseling program. Yep. And with the education degree, really goes alongside our equine-assisted learning and education component. Okay. Jessica, our barn manager, has a equine studies degree from SDSU. Okay. So
is that other thing you just mentioned? So you have Riding Rock Ranch 5 to 17, you said? Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. Senior saddles. Is it arch or arc? Is it psychotherapy? Sure. Explain that to me.
It's just considered equine-assisted counseling. Okay. And so that program, too, started where, again, somebody came knocking on our door asking for something and asked if we could help with their family. They had had a family trauma where mom had passed away in a tragic car accident, and now these two families were coming together kind of like Brady Bunch.
Oh, wow.
And they needed help through that. And one of the children was involved in that car accident, was there when her mom died. And so new mom was asking, can we try something here? Can we try something to help? And I said, gosh, I'd like to. I said, we don't offer that service, but a little history. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So that's something that's always been interesting to me too. So I said, let's look around and see if we can find somebody that does this locally. So did a little research, found a counselor that literally lives 10 miles from us.
Oh, wow.
And you don't find these counselors anywhere.
No.
You just don't find people trained in that area.
No.
And so I gave her a call, and she was more than interested to team up with me that summer. And so she did some training with me throughout that summer. And that program looks more like you have a licensed counselor or a social worker.
Sure.
You have an equine specialist, so somebody who knows the herd of horses well to be able to have input with different behaviors that come up and safety reasons, of course. And then you have the clients and the horses. And so she took me under her wing that summer, and after that summer, I thought, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna get more training in this. So then I went further and got some training in an organization called EGALA, the Equine-Assisted Growth and Learning Association. Okay. And then most recently, we've gotten more training through ARCH, Arenas for Change. Okay. Both organizations that specialize in equine-assisted counseling.
Awesome. And they're international. I mean, they're all over the world. Okay. Yeah. We've had the founders of both organizations at Rock Ranch's site in Little Tiny Hills, Minnesota. Yeah. They might be in Ireland one week and Utah the next, and then they're in Little Tiny Hills, Minnesota. But they've come to help train our team to become the best counseling folks for a broad community, and it's been really, really cool. I think we have 4 therapists right now that work with us, Marie. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yeah, all licensed and credentialed. We see a number of referrals who come from different organizations within the Sioux Empire, Call to Freedom will make referrals to us.
Sure.
We'll see Children's Home Society on occasion. Glory House has a regular program where they send folks. And then we get referrals from other counselors and other shops around the region, school districts, self-referrals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think the last time I was out, it was in construction, but is the counseling cabin, is that what you call it? Is that completed now? Is that up and...
Yeah, that's completed. We're excited about that.
And what's the, because it's really kind of away from the arena. It's on the outside of the outside arena, I guess I would call it, right? But it's a little bit away from, was that by design?
Yeah, we were finding that once we built the arena, we built that in 2020.
Okay.
And once we built that arena, we have this big, beautiful arena that we can do all of our services. We can go in rain or snow or wind or anything. We have light all the time.
Nice.
On the farm, it would get dark early in the fall, and you couldn't do lessons in the dark. So we had this beautiful arena, and as we added these programs, it started getting busier and busier. And there was a sense of privacy that isn't always manageable. Sometimes we get people that just want to pop in and see the facility. And if you're in the middle of a counseling session in that arena, it can be disruptive.
Yeah.
And so we noticed just some things that were coming up through our programming. If we were having lessons going on, then we couldn't have a counseling session. And
sure.
Especially if it was bad weather and we couldn't be outside.
Yeah.
So we do some training up in Forest Lake, Minnesota at a place called Acres for Life, and they had these counseling cabins up there.
Nice.
And they said they come in handy. So we started just researching that a little bit and decided to put one just on the west of our building, so it's just off-site a little bit. There's two pastures that are adjacent to it. So when clients come, they have the freedom of either exploring the pasture with the horses and being with the horses in there, or they could sit on the deck around the cabin. They could be inside the cabin. There's windows all the way around, so there's a lot to look at wherever you look. And imagery is really important in that type of experiential therapy. Just seeing some things, and that imagery can really be impactful for people.
So thinking back, was it, you don't always know why you go to school sometime, but how God uses that in a different area. Was it, I need to find a niche for that passion? Was it the horses first? Was it both? I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah, I think it was just God.
Yeah.
It was just God throwing down on me. And I mean, I knew growing up, I always had horses, and spending that time in the pasture with my horses was my grounding place, was my peaceful place where I could just be with God. And nature has always afforded me that. If I can find the time to just truly be still and just be in those moments in nature, a lot can happen for
That's
me.
amazing. My little spot like that is up northern Minnesota. That's where it's a long drive to get there to get to my happy place, but it's still that quiet time, just being able to unplug. And
it's so important.
Yeah,
it's so important for all of us.
Yeah. So the horses, we have 14. Is that what I understand? We have, is it Molly, Phoenix, Willow, Flo, Kairos? Is that how you say it? Spirit, Benny, Gypsy, Lucky, Josie, Pickles, Ryder, Bugs, and Major.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Got it.
So what intrigues me is Phoenix, I identified with some of these horses, which is important to me. So side note, I haven't always had a love for horse. They're beautiful animals, but that fall off was a big experience.
Big deal.
So a few years, several years now, but my wife and I were on a trip in Canada, and someone said, you have to go on this horse riding experience. So we get out there, and this was not butt to nose. This was, they put you on a horse, and the instruction was go up the side of the hill, and there's an open pasture, and we'll see you there. And if you're not there in an hour and a half, we'll call you.
Oh, I would love that.
So we get out of the bus. And we walk up, and then they size you up, right?
Yep.
So my wife's there, and they says, well, you get Gazelle. And Gazelle's this spunky, free-spirited. It's like, perfect. They go through everybody in the line, and she comes up to me, and she looks up and down, and she says, you get Simba. Now, Simba is this massive Belgian, bowed in the middle. I think my feet could touch the ground. His feet went out. It's like, okay. So I could relate to Simba. Well, about an hour in, I am nowhere close to this open field that we're supposed to find. And all of a sudden this human whistle goes off. And literally, you had to be there to see it. The horse turned and kind of looked over his shoulder at me like, okay, idiot, we got to go up this way. And just calmly walked up the side of this hill. And then we get to this open pasture. I'm like, oh, this is what we were looking for. Yeah. I was the only one that wasn't there. So my experience with horses, but I did relate to Phoenix, because Phoenix I see hates to run. And I can relate to that.
Yes.
And Kairos just doesn't realize how big he is. Mm-hmm. So I think those are my two spirit animals right there. So I'm glad you got two.
You would love to meet both of those animals.
But tell me about Pickles.
Oh, special story there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pickles was brought to us by some people in Laverne, Minnesota. Had his dad and his brother rescued Pickles. And when Pickles was just a young horse. And they taught him to drive. So she is actually trained to drive carts behind, to pull
really?
Carts. Yeah. And they spent a lot of time training that horse. This father-son duo, son committed suicide.
Oh.
So this horse became very important to
I'm sure.
to Dad, and he spent a lot of time with this horse. So then Dad starts getting older and going through some things medically, and he can't care for the horse anymore. So reached out to us wondering if we'd be interested in taking Pickles. And so we did, and spent some more time actually on Pickles' back instead of pulling a cart behind her. And she's turned out to be a great little addition to
and
the
I think
program.
Molly is the mother of she kind of leads
Molly's
the group?
kind of the mothership. Yeah, she was one of the originals that we had at our farm when we first started. My daughter started with her.
So you said they're all gentle spirits. They all, which you would have to have. Do the horses have to go through specific training, or you just see by their nature?
Yeah, we
this is a
screen
good
them.
fit.
So when we have the opportunity to get a new horse, we'll screen them to make sure that they meet all of our criteria of what we need in a horse. So our biggest issue with many of our horses is that they're slow. But that's how we like them. And we certainly have fast horses. Those are not the horses that we put kids on.
Right.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
What I'm sure you've had, the stories are endless, but what would be, if you could think of one, I know confidentiality, we're not asking you to disclose anything there, but that you really saw just a life-changing moment, probably every day, I'm sure, but is there one that sticks out over others?
I have one that has to do with a volunteer, actually.
Okay. Not everybody riding gets touched or changed, right? Okay, cool.
We had a volunteer come to us about 6 years ago. She was 13, I think, at the time. And when she came, she was interested in the horses, I think, interested in volunteering, and I heard about it. Marie's going to know more of her history than I will, but she came to us, and she was not quite ready for how to present herself to people. So she was completely like just rolled out of bed. She was just like, her eyes and her nose was running, and like literally like just did not know how to interact with people. But was interested in being there, and interested in being around kids, and interested in being a part of it, but just had no idea how her appearance may have given people probably the wrong impression about her.
Well, unfortunately, we're more judgmental than horses are, right?
Right.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
And over the 2 or 3 years that she started to come, number one, I think she was one of our most regular volunteers. I think she always said yes. And over time of just spending time with Marie, with Jess, with our team, and sometimes with the people who would come for lessons and their parents, over time she started to just come out. She would hardly talk to anybody when she first came. Over time she started to just emerge, and this blooming flower that was inside her starts to come out, and all of a sudden she is like completely transformed. And I bet she would spend 5 to 6 hours a week with us. Am I right on that?
Yeah,
5 to 6.
She came young, and so she was a young girl, and so socially, it takes a lot to learn some of those things. But through interacting with her other volunteers and with the staff, and even with with the kids that came in, she just really grew. And then as she got to know more about the horses and was taking on more responsibility, her confidence started growing more and more. And she had a lot of pride of being out there and being able to do the things that she learned to do. And she was doing them really well. She was a very valued volunteer. But just sticking with her through that and continuing to teach her. And the place is full of mentors. Our other volunteers are mentors. We have all ages of volunteers. So you can start volunteering when you're 14. So we have 14-year-olds volunteering. We have 80-year-olds volunteering.
Wow.
And so you have the older volunteers mentoring the younger volunteers.
Certainly.
You have both of those ages mentoring the kids that are coming through the program.
Well,
so
awesome.
it's just like the age range is just, it's so rich with mentorship opportunities.
It's like the riding Rock Ranch group, the 5 to 17. Do they all individual? Does it come in larger groups? Is it like all 5-year-olds, all 7-year-olds? Do you have 5, 8, 10s together? How does that work?
We try to pair them, and we did change the age. We had to go up to age 6 because we just have so many people signing up, and we had to try to narrow it down a little bit. But we usually try to group them in groups of 3. We prefer a group of 3. We feel like we have more individualized attention with them from the instructor. Sometimes we'll squeak in a 4th, especially if maybe they're a little further on with their riding skills and can be a little bit more independent. But we like that. We like that sweet number.
So are they around the horse for a while, or is it just right up on the saddle, or explain?
So they come in and meet with their volunteer, and then they get their horses ready. So they're doing all the work themselves.
Oh, nice.
They're not saddled.
So it isn't about just put me up here. I want the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of learning and just responsibility and so they come in and they go to the tack room and they grab their grooming bucket. They come out to their horse and they're grooming their horse, getting all the mud and all the hair off of them, and they're getting dirty doing that.
Nice.
And they go and they grab the saddle pad and they grab the saddle, and if they need help getting it on the horse, and the volunteer is there to help them get it on top of the horse and just guide them through all of those things and how to remain safe around a horse and how to read the horse's behavior to know when you're safe and when you might not be safe. So we spend about 15 minutes tacking up the horse, getting them ready, and then the kids lead their horses into the arena, maybe just walk a lap with them before hopping on their back. And then the volunteer is there for kids who are just learning. We keep the reins on the halter until they can show us that their hands can be low and soft and they're doing things appropriately. And then we clip them onto the bridle, and then they can go on their own. The volunteer is typically there just even watching from afar if they see a breakdown with the horse and the rider, and if one is getting frustrated, because sometimes the kids can get frustrated and sometimes the horses can get frustrated.
Yeah, I've been on the horses that get frustrated. Remember Simba?
Yeah.
So I totally relate to this.
So just being those extra eyes on there, and again, just offering that mentorship to the kids too. And with the activities that we do as kids are riding, the volunteers are there to gather materials that they might need for certain games or activities that we do.
So where's the future? Is it, you've been really responsive to God brings you something and then you feel that need. So sometimes we try to do too much, but is there other programs that you want to implement or things coming, or you just do the best what you can now and you'll see what God brings your way?
I think that's really it. I think, in those beginning stages, I'd have all these other crazy ideas of things that we could do. And Dan was really good about, what, we're gonna keep it at this.
Yeah, let's do one well.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what 2 looks like.
Let's stick with these 3 programs and do them well.
Nice.
And so that's what we've done. And it's been working really well. One area that I could see some growth in some places is probably our counseling program through different group activities.
Sure.
We just opened up some mindfulness clinics so people can come and just learn how to be mindful and have the opportunity of being out in that pasture with horses and having that quiet space. And we tried doing some of those clinics this summer, and we realized, people truly need to be taught how to be mindful. It just doesn't come naturally for people. When people are just so busy going, they have a hard time just resting in a space.
Yeah.
And so we've tweaked some things. We've had some winter mindfulness programs where we're really more intentional about guiding people on how to be mindful when
so
they come
fall,
out.
winter, are they longer? I mean, are they like 8 Did I understand that? They're 8 weeks and summer is more 4, or do you do 8 in the summer?
Our riding program goes, we have a fall session and a winter session where kids come once a week for 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then in the summer, we just pack them in. So they come for 1 week, a Monday through Thursday, and just 1 hour during those days.
Okay.
And they're
so it's a little more accelerated. They're the 8 week or okay. So is it people pay for this? Is it donors sponsored? Is it both? How does that work?
Yeah.
Go to the finance side. I'm going to lean over to Dan.
There's a combination. So what we try to do is provide the highest quality horse education, riding training that we can for a very normative or low-end cost. So as you look at what other organizations may be providing, how do you decide what you're going to charge?
Sure.
So we create an experience that people continue to want. That's why we have a waiting list, because people continue to want this. And we charge a minimal amount. But there is also, every single lesson we give is subsidized by donor investment.
Okay.
And so if our total annual budget is about $310,000 a year, about $150 comes from lesson fees across all metrics, and $150 will come from donor investment in what we're doing, and that's our entirety of our program.
Sure.
So we can serve 3,500 people a year for about $310,000.
Okay.
So what I love about that is the efficiency.
Right.
We're able to keep competitive employment for really wonderful people who want to be in mission for others with equine supported activities. And we can deliver that at a so our donors who invest in Rock Ranch are getting a lot for that investment, because we can care for a lot of people with those dollars. And so I feel really good about that from a nonprofit industry type delivery, But at the end of the day, we try in every single facet. If someone needs counseling, there may be a small amount they have to pay up to a larger amount, depending on their ability to pay.
Sure.
But every one of those sessions is subsidized by donor investment. Same with our senior saddles program, and same with our lesson program.
Any good mission needs to also be good stewards of what's being entrusted to them. So is a riding lesson, is that like $300, or is that the subsidy sponsorship? How does that?
Yeah, so if you have a riding lesson, let's just say it's a set of 4 lessons. It may be $160 or $40 per lesson.
Okay.
And that $40 number, the real cost of delivering a lesson is probably $80 a lesson.
Oh, sure.
To really do it right. So the public will see 40, that's what you're going to pay. And then we will be subsidizing each of those lessons with additional dollars.
Because that's what I was trying to figure out when I was just looking at the website a little bit, because it said you can sponsor a rider.
Yep.
So is that cover the full cost,
right,
or you're subsidizing?
In case
so
a rider
if I spent $300, I would fully sponsor.
You got it.
Okay.
Yep. You got it.
Excellent.
Yep.
So side note, and you did not know this is coming, but the True Wealth Podcast and Pinnacle Wealth, I would like to sponsor a horse. For the season, since they kind of intimidated me,
Kevin, that's amazing.
I think that there's a $500 for half a year, and $1,000 for. So I'm trying to decide if I'm going to. Are they all sponsored, or you can have multiple sponsorships for the same horse?
You can
sponsor anyone you want. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll just let you choose, because I really Kairos I really relate to, but Pickles really intrigues me. So I got a check for you today that I want you to for the sponsorship.
Thank you.
I think it's a great ministry and a great mission.
So much.
Put that to whatever horse you think.
It's going to be Pickles.
It's going to be pickles.
Yeah, I like pickles with all my hamburgers. So pickles are good. I'll remember that. That's great.
Can I tell you one more story about pickles?
Absolutely.
So Marie mentioned the owners who donated pickles to us. And that owner had a very close relationship with the horse due to the nature of his son. And when that owner, who has now passed, but just before he was going to pass, one of the last things he wanted was to come back and see Pickles again. And so was it last year? Mm-hmm. A year ago, his family, who are physicians and brought him to us, and he was able to spend some of the best last hours of his life with that horse.
Yeah.
And this year, we had a chance to visit with his wife, who was a part of those visits.
Sure.
And you wouldn't, when you see the emotion come upon her when she talks about the joy that interaction between Pickles and her husband had, giving him the kind of peace as he steps into the great, great unknown, Lord willing, a life with Christ.
Yeah.
But it was such a amazingly gifted moment, and that's not a service we offer,
no, right?
But it's a way to be able to connect people to something which gives them peace in a way that only, I think, animals, horses can.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, when he came back too, he was actually in hospice at the time. So when he came back out to the barn to see Pickles for the last time, Pickles knew who he was immediately.
I'm sure.
Came right up to that deck
That
where
is
he was
amazing.
sitting.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
So if others want to donate, they go to Rock Ranch website, and there's a nice tab there.
Donate link.
Donate.
Yeah, right on the very home page in the upper right-hand corner, there's a donate
They can
now.
get gift certificates, or they can sponsor.
Absolutely.
Correct? There's a lot of different ways for them to give.
I'd also say that we're so grateful for Pinnacle Wealth. We established an endowment fund a couple, 3 years ago when we started to realize that the program was maturing and we could kind of put an idea on what it might take and what an endowment fund could help provide for us. And so we're grateful for the expertise here at Pinnacle that helps us manage that fund. So we're able to receive support from that each year. So if folks wanted to help us continue the legacy of Rock Ranch long into the future, that's a great way to make an investment.
Beyond just sponsorship of the local, actually making a bequest or whatever it may be.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in closing, I guess, what's the one thing you would want listeners to take away from Rock Ranch? What would it be? I should have gave you a little time to think about that, but sometimes the impulse answers are the best.
She's going to have the best answer. I'm going to start, and then she can wrap.
Perfect.
I think what I get from Rock Ranch is we all get different calls in different ways, and sometimes we're able to hear those calls very clearly, and sometimes it takes time to decipher what the Lord is inviting us to.
Sure.
In this situation, this was not something Marie and I had planned. 10 years ago, this was not on our radar. This was not what we were going to do, empty nesting. This was not something that was, and yet because I think we're interested in a relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Spirit is active in our world,
right?
We received that invitation to something that is still unfolding today. Yeah. But I would encourage, from Rock Ranch's perspective, what we want people to know is this is a place that you can come bring your everything you've got going on. We think the horses help in a healing sense within our counseling program.
Bring your baggage, and the horses will help you get rid of it.
I think so.
Yeah.
And we're grateful to be just holding the reins.
Sure.
While you experience that. Is that
awesome?
Yeah, I was just going to say, listen to your calling, and make the time to be in those, to be still, and make the time to be in prayer, and spend time listening and discerning what's coming your way.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Great facilities, even better mission. Just really excited that you were willing to come and join us. This went way longer than I was expecting. We try to keep them at a half hour, and we blew way by that.
Did we?
This could be two separate ones. We'll see. But yeah, there's so much more we could talk about. So I really appreciate you being here. Again, I just want to send a special thank you to today's guest, Dan and Marie LaRock, for your willingness to share and be part of the True Wealth journey. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, we would love for you to like, subscribe, or follow, depending on what your favorite listening for podcasts is, whether it's YouTube channel, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure you do one of those options and then share it with a friend or a family member. And we'd like to expand the True Wealth Nation for those people that are looking to experience a life confidently enjoyed. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have additional questions on today's topic, just send your questions to info@Pinnacle Wealth. And if it's specifically for the LaRocks, we'll make sure we forward that on so we can get you some answers. As a reminder, if you do subscribe, you could be recognized as one of our non-financial sponsors of the day and earn a free shout out. So today's sponsor is Jerry. So we want to just really give a special thanks to Jerry. But thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey of true wealth, because the pinnacle of wealth is true wealth. Thank you, and we'll be back soon. Guests on the True Wealth Podcast are not affiliated with CWM LLC. Investment advisory services are offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.